Hey, welcome back to another episode of these crazy guys that just eat meat and can't stop talking about it. Today, we got a very important short ribs topic. We're just going to spend a few minutes discussing the age old sort of argument of carnivore versus,
Vegan.
yeah, right, the classic discussion. Why can these people over here claim that eating a plant based diet is the only way to go and they're saving the planet and all that? And how can we say the exact opposite? What's our evidence? Why would we dare do this? So, Justin, off the top of your head, how do you want to kick this off?
Well, I mean, as someone that came from more plant-based, there's a lot of arguments about the heart and you get cholesterol and all that stuff from eating meat. And they have all this epidoomadoobadoobadooology that they have that supposedly points to, a plant-based diet being better for health. But there's so many different confounders. I mean, you have um, healthy user bias, which is essentially people that, because in the culture it's seen as the healthy thing to do is to eat more plants or be more plant-based, that the people that care about their health, that do other things like don't smoke, don't overuse alcohol and drugs, go hiking, enjoy nature, things of that nature, all the hipster hippie stuff. Generally, we're doing the plant-based stuff as well, and so that skews a lot of the data, because then you have the people that are eating the meat that don't care about their health or supposedly don't care about their health, smoking the cigarettes, drinking the alcohol, not getting enough sun, and perishing quicker or having more disease.
Yeah, so I frequently say that one of the reasons why the plant-based movement got so big is because we all suffer from bad information. And the other point is that most outspoken vegans are just people trying to make their turn their feelings into your ethics. And a lot of times it's poorly founded. And sort of a foundation of that is the Seventh Day Adventist Church. Uh, Arguably, nice people. I've met many Seventh Day Adventists. They're headquartered not far from where I live. They have hospitals and schools and everything, and they have stop smoking programs, and they do all kinds of nice things for the community. But their idea of a plant based diet is really is really just a cult sort of thing, a religious cult. It all starts with Ellen G. White. It's a young girl gets hit in the face with a rock, goes into a coma, comes out of it, says she's a prophet of God, and starts talking about this Garden of Eden diet. That sounds crazy, but just ask a Seventh Day Adventist or go online and look it up for yourself because they don't deny it one bit. So, anyways, this whole vegan plant based diet, which was originally the Garden of Eden diet, it's been widely spread here in the United States and Australia by like the Sanitarian brand and stuff like that. If you want to know how crazy this is, just watch the movie The Road to Wellville with Anthony Hopkins and John Cusack and all those guys. Harvey Kellogg worked for the Seventh Day Adventists as a typesetter, writing their newsletters. He believed all this. He had a sanitarium where he basically put people on a plant-based diet and did all kinds of crazy stuff. And really his reasoning behind it was that they knew that if you put people on a plant-based diet and you fed them things like cornflakes, that it would suppress their libido. Because they believed that, sex and particularly masturbation or fornication and all that was a sin. And if you fed people the right diet, that you would suppress all that and you'd help them from sinning. So, if that's where you want to get your dietary advice, more power to you. But I think a lot of people aren't aware that that's at the root of it. A lot of people think that somehow not eating animals is healthier for us and eating more plants is healthier. And we believe the exact opposite. And I firmly believe that the archaeological evidence, the anthropologic evidence, the biology, even the physics of it points otherwise. I mean, we used to wander around eating these animals. One of the reasons why we ate mammoths is because it got cold. The colder it is, the bigger the animals are, and the warmer it is, typically the smaller they are. But still, we mostly ate animals because there's very few plants to forage. Most starchy tubers, including all wild potatoes, are poisonous. You can't eat them without detoxifying them or breeding them into something less toxic. And things like wheat and barley and oats, they just didn't grow everywhere. We weren't walking around picking fruit everywhere we went. In fact, we followed these giant animals into northern Europe as the ice ages were setting in. We're following these animals, and this is before we even harnessed the use of fire. So you tell me how you sustain yourself other than eating animals, and then explain why we left habituation sites full of animal bones. We built our homes out of their bones and their hides. And everywhere you go, it's scraping tools for scraping hides, tools for cutting hides, tools for sewing hides, and tools for hunting these animals and butchering them. So for me, the evidence is clear. This is how we evolved, and that's why the more we get into this plant-based diet, the more vegetable oils we eat, and the more grains we eat, and the more fruit and vegetables we eat, the sicker we get. What do you say about that, Justin?
Definitely. And on the sicker you get, I mean, it's just the vitamin deficiencies, the B12, the calcium, omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, and protein itself. So everything you have in the plants, not only are you getting, anti-nutrients, toxins, etc., but it's less absorbable. So, if you are getting protein from the plant, even if you eat the legumes and the beans, which are, if anyone that's been vegan, they make their bean patties and all that stuff for the protein. What oftentimes people don't know is you actually only absorb about 40% of that protein.
Yeah.
So to hit leucine levels, you've got to be just constantly chowing down on beans and legumes and all of that, or some greens and things like that, just to be hitting levels of protein. Now there's the shakes and things like that, and I understand, but that's not really absorbable, and it's kind of foreign, and it's oftentimes mixed with stevia and other sugars as well, which even the vegans will agree that it's not great. And you know the B12, yes, you can get B12 from beet or some beet, supplement, but again, how absorbable is it? The methylcobalamin, the highly absorbable, the very good source of it. Yeah, can it be done? Can you get all the nutrients? You can actually with modern technology, uh, but
Can you do it
over
without supplementing or even injecting nutrients though? Most long-term vegans, that's what they have to do, right? They're actually injecting vitamins because they can't eat enough of them. Yeah,
exactly.
plant-based foods are full of what we call anti-nutrients like phytic acid, and then we have all the problems with things like oxalates and stuff like that. And the fiber itself, a lot of the nutrients are carried right through your digestive tract and out the backside by the fiber itself.
Right.
Red meat, on the other hand, is nutritionally dense. It's the most nutritionally dense food there is, and we absorb it very easily. Right? That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what's a primary reason that a person changes their diet, that they might think carnivore or vegan? And again, this is where we want to catch people right before they go down the vegan path to come on the carnivore boat, so to say. So for me, the big nail in the coffin, the one that really does it for me, and it's one of my favorite subjects, is the Randall cycle. And this can be its own short ribs at a different time. But
Hmm.
essentially, what makes people get fat, what leads to this inflammation in the body, it's the Randall cycle. And so just super quick, what the Randall cycle is when you eat carbohydrates and fats together, your body attempts to process the carbohydrates, but can't exactly process enough with the fat, and so it ends up bundling it together, turning into like a triglyceride, and becomes oxidized and stores in your fat. It makes you gain weight and inflammation, actually. Um, so knowing that, it's like, okay, so it's bad to have carbohydrates and fat together. It's like, okay, if you're on a plant-based diet, oftentimes people lose weight, they feel better, they do lose some of the inflammation. That is all true. And the reason for that is that they're circumventing the Randall cycle because they're not oftentimes not eating fat with carbohydrates. They're just having the carbohydrates and protein from plants. They're not having very little fat, maybe from avocado, maybe from some olive oil, but not really, levels of fat in the standard American diet. or obviously an omnivore diet, right? Um, Switch over the other way, you can get the same results because again, you're circumventing that Randall cycle, right? By the carnivore diet because you're having protein and fat, but almost no carbohydrate. So you get to circumvent the Randall cycle again, which oftentimes leads to the weight loss and the loss of inflammation in the body that was due to the Randall cycle of having fat and carbohydrates together. So now knowing that, and then on top of what we just discussed with the vegan diet, the deficiencies, like, yeah, you're circumventing the Randall cycle, and that's great. But over time, oftentimes people go off vegan or can't put up with it and end up eating meat or at least eggs and dairy and things of that nature because of the deficiencies in the minerals and the vitamins, and they, um, just they become purely carbohydrate, and the body actually doesn't run best on pure carbohydrates with a little bit of protein, which is basically what you're forcing your body to run on a vegan diet.
Yeah, plant-based fat and protein is inferior to animal meat. And the human body is not designed to burn a lot of carbohydrates. And that's why, first of all, you see your teeth start getting cavities. And then you see your A1C levels go up because the high blood sugar is you can see the damage to the red blood cells when you get a hemoglobin A1C test, and then the elevated insulin levels, and eventually poor pancreatic function because of the excessive need for the insulin. And that's one of the first things that we hear, because there are a lot of ex-vegans that went carnivore because as soon as they ate meat, their depression and their libido and everything improved drastically within a few bites, just because the body becomes depleted of these essential nutrients which are not available in the plant kingdom. So, I mean, when you see like a vegan bodybuilder or something, they're eating massive amounts of blended proteins from all these exotic, pea proteins and stuff like that, soy proteins that they bring together, and they're all still inferior. That's why these people don't last, you know. So just cut to the chase and eat the diet we evolved to eat, which is meat.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's just the best way. I mean, it's just scientifically the best way. It's not an opinion. You are using Tom words like "I believe." There's no belief about it. I mean, it's rock hard. It's settled. You know.
Yeah, I know. This is one of the things where a lot of the plant-based diets are based on epidemiology, which isn't even really a real science. It's more like sort of an investigation. They try to ask people what they ate for 20 years and then see what the outcome is. Now, I don't know how many people can sit down and fill out a form and tell somebody exactly what they ate for the last 20 years. It kind of makes no sense. Whereas, from the carnivore perspective, we can look at nitrogen isotopes in the collagen 30, 40,000 years ago and know exactly what we ate, what other animals ate. We can look at the fossil record. We can look at the habituation sites and so on and so forth. And we know what people ate. They wrote about what they ate. They painted it on the cave walls. There's a lot of hard evidence for what we ate. And if anything, just based on what was available. So there was no grocery stores, right? So a lot of the plants, if you go to your grocery store, I challenge people all the time, go in there, go to the produce section, look up any fruit or vegetable in there and see how long it's been available and see what its original form was like. And if it was even edible, if it was even something a human being could swallow and keep down. So that's your evidence right there. So anyways, anything else you want to wrap this up with, Justin?
Don't be a vegetard. We know you pick on you, but come over to this side. We know you're not feeling great. We know you're falling down, breaking toes and things like that. It's not fun. Don't do it. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah, just follow the celebrities and watch them fall apart and watch them prematurely age and break their foot stepping into an elevator or out of a bathtub like left and right. And you're like, yeah, no wonder your bones are snapping and they're brittle and you look frail and your and your teeth are falling out and your hair is falling out and you can't put a string of sentence together. It was just watch a lot of the vegan people that make videos. They have to follow a script. If they're either screaming because they're crazy angry, like what's her name, Banana Girl, or they're trying to follow a script and they have to have 10,000 edits, is because their brains aren't sharp anymore. It's because they're not feeding them the right nutrients. So,
Your brain's
anyways,
made of fat. The rest of you is essentially made of protein.
yeah, your brain is like 60% fat, and you've got to have the omega-3 fatty acids in there to keep it running right. And when you feed it too many carbohydrates, your blood sugar's too high, then your insulin gets too high, and then parts of your brain get insulin resistant like other parts of your body, and then you have a fuel crisis. So that's why people aren't sharp, don't stay sharp. So cut back on those grains and those vegetable oils and stay away from the sugar. Eat some tasty meat. So until next time, keep eating meat. Leave us some comments. Pass the links on to people. Enjoy the short ribs. Let us know what other topics you want to see covered in a nice, short, concise video. And until next time, whatever you do, don't
Don't fall
fall
down the
down the
carb
carb
hole.